Have you ever sat in a room you poured your soul into, only to be treated like a ghost haunting your own creation? That's where I found myself that humid Thursday evening in Nashville. The air thick with the scent of fresh herbs and unspoken betrayals. I, Emily Hayes, stepped through the front doors of Verdant Haven, my flagship restaurant, a place I'd clawed into existence from nothing but grit and late-night sketches on napkins. But tonight, I wasn't the owner gliding through the kitchen, I was the overlooked sister. Invited as an afterthought to my sibling Sophia's engagement dinner. The text from my mother, Victoria, had been curt: Sophia's engagement at Verdant Haven. 7 p.m. Be there. No warmth. No recognition that this chic spot they'd chosen was mine. They didn't know. How could they? I'd kept it buried, like so many wounds from our fractured family. As I adjusted my simple black sheath dress, practical, unflashy, the kind that screamed reliable but never impressive to Victoria, I felt the familiar knot tighten in my chest. Marcus, my floor manager, caught my eye from the host stand. His nod subtle, professional. He knew the drill. Treat me like any guest tonight. No fanfare. I wasn't here to flaunt. I was here to observe. To let the silence I'd endured for years finally speak. The table was set under the custom chandelier I'd sourced from a reclaimed barn in rural Tennessee, its warm glow mocking the cold reception awaiting me. Sophia, radiant in her designer gown, looped her arm through her fiancé James's, his polished suit screaming old money. Victoria air-kissed my cheek, her perfume cloying like overripe gardenias. Emily, you made it, she said, her tone laced with that practiced politeness that always felt like dismissal. Richard, my father, barely glanced up from his phone, muttering a gruff evening. Sophia offered a cheek without standing, her eyes skimming my outfit. You look comfortable, she quipped, the word dripping with that familiar condescension. James shook my hand firmly, his smile vacant, as if I were a distant acquaintance rather than family. Champagne flutes were filled, bubbles rising like the tension I swallowed down. The conversation swirled around wedding venues, guest lists, and James's latest merger, topics that circled them like a protective shield, leaving me on the periphery. When I mentioned a recent grant for sustainable urban farming, Victoria blinked dismissively. Sounds quaint. Dear. No questions. No curiosity. Just erasure. As if my life were a footnote in their grand narrative. The appetizers arrived, crispy heirloom tomato bruschetta on artisanal bread I'd tested for weeks. The staff moved with precision, a rhythm I'd drilled into them through endless shifts. But to my family, it was just service. Richard raised his glass, his voice booming, to James. The man who'll take this family to new heights. Vision. Drive. Legacy. Clinks echoed. Sophia beaming. Victoria dabbing her eyes. I lifted my glass too. But inside, something fractured. They were toasting in a space I'd built brick by brick, on plates I'd chosen, amid lighting I'd agonized over. Yet I wasn't even named in the cheer. The betrayal stung deeper than words, years of being the practical one, the one who settled for eco-initiatives while Sophia chased glamour. My silence wasn't weakness, it was a gathering storm. As the main course landed, seared salmon over quinoa pilaf, infused with herbs from our rooftop garden, Victoria turned to me with that rehearsed smile. Still tinkering with those green projects of yours? Waste management, wasn't it? The word waste hung like a slur, her tone implying I'd scraped the bottom of ambition's barrel. Before I could respond, Sophia interjected with a laugh. Oh, Mom, it's like upscale recycling or something. Cute for a hobby. James chuckled, adding, hey, someone's gotta save the planet, right? At least it's earnest. Laughter rippled. Light but cutting. Like shards under my skin. I smiled tightly, folding my napkin. But inside, the hurt twisted memories of childhood dinners where my ideas were brushed aside. Where Sophia's pageant wins trumped my science fair trophies. No one defended me. Not Richard. Scrolling stocks. Not even my brother, Ethan, who sat quietly across the table, avoiding my gaze. The psychological toll mounted, each jab reinforcing the invisibility I'd fought to escape. I excused myself to the restroom, heels clicking against the polished floors I'd selected for their eco-friendly sealant. In the mirror, I stared at my reflection, lips faded, shoulders slumped from years of shrinking. Founder, I whispered. CEO. Owner. The words anchored me. Reminders of the nights I'd traded sleep for spreadsheets, maxed cards for suppliers, turned mockery into momentum. Verdant Haven wasn't just a restaurant, it was my rebellion against a family that valued appearances over substance. Returning to the table, I felt the shift not in them, but in me. The silence I'd worn like armor was cracking, ready to shatter. Dessert loomed, but the air thickened. A distant cousin, Mallory, asked innocently, "Emily, what do you do these days?" Sophia waved it off. Something with sustainable trash, non-profit vibes. I think. More chuckles. But this time, I held her gaze. Actually, we're scaling. City contracts. Medical partnerships. Turning trash into systems that sustain communities. Sophia's smile faltered, but she recovered with a flick of her wrist. Well, aren't you the eco-warrior? James leaned in, smirking. From sorting bins to whatever this is. Impressive pivot. The insult landed like a gut punch, echoing past rejections. Richard's "Why not law school?" Victoria's "Don't embarrass us." My heart raced, the quiet betrayal fueling a slow-burning fury. Then, a stranger approached, a sharp-suited man in his 40s, nodding appreciatively. This place is masterful, the details. The sustainability without sacrifice. Feels intentional. He turned to me. You involved here? I smiled faintly. You could say that. As he walked away, James whistled low. Fan club. The table quieted. Unease creeping in. Victoria fiddled with her bracelet. Sophia's poise cracking. I let the moment breathe. The drama unfolding in whispers and glances. The tension simmered, each glance a spark. Sophia pushed her plate away. Nose wrinkled. I specified no onions, fermented or not. I met her eyes calmly. It's a glaze. Infused carefully. But we can remake it. Our server, Elena, one of my first hires, a single mom I'd mentored, froze, looking to me. Sophia waved it off. Flustered. James tried to deflect, hands-on as ever. But the facade was crumbling. Victoria chimed in. Still running that little operation? I nodded. Expanding. Thriving. The words hung, challenging their narrative. Suddenly, Leona entered, my mentor, a powerhouse investor in pearls and poise. She strode to my side, hand on my shoulder. Emily, you've built something extraordinary. If this is your family, they should be bursting with pride. Sophia blinked. Victoria's throat tightened. The neighboring table whispered. Eyes on us. Elena returned, addressing me first. Your reserve. MS. Hayes. James echoed. MS. Hayes. Realization dawned slowly. Horrifically. You're the owner. James stammered, recalling a pitch he'd sent years ago. Ignored. I nodded. This is my space. Every detail. The table froze, Victoria's hand trembling. Richard staring at his hands. Sophia flushed. The applause started softly from afar. A TEDx clip of mine projecting unexpectedly on a wall screen, me speaking on dignity in dirty work. Invisible labor building empires. Claps grew. Diners standing. Nodding. Leona whispered. You didn't even shout. Sophia's voice cracked. You hid this to humiliate us? I met her eyes. No. You just never looked. The fallout was raw. No pink bows on revenge. Victoria whispered to Sophia. Their alliance fracturing. Richard muttered about meeting the owner, irony biting deep. I rose. Voice steady. I built this from raw hands and overdue bills. Not handouts. Respect wasn't optional. The room applauded again. But my family's silence screamed betrayal's cost. They saw me now. But at what price? Bonds severed. Illusions shattered. As they filed out, Sophia clutching her bag. James avoiding eyes. Victoria's chin high but steps faltering, I lingered. Elena slipped me a note. We saw you first. Leona squeezed my hand. The real story starts now. Alone in the dimming space. I traced the chandelier's beams. No triumph. Just hollow clarity. I'd paid with years of swallowed pain. They'd pay with regret's echo. 2 days later. The silence roared. No apologies. Just ripples. James's firm lost a deal. Whispers of conflicts. Sophia unfollowed me online. Her perfect image cracking. Victoria called briefly. You embarrassed us. But, well done. I replied. Stop erasing me. Click. End. Ethan visited. Admitting. I was blind. You're solid. A crack mended. But others gaped. At brunch with Victoria, neutral ground. Her pearls versus my jeans, she said. You did it elegantly. I folded my napkin. I don't need your narrative. No hugs. Just reluctant nods. Back at Verdant Haven. Mentorship brunches thrived. Women hungry for reinvention. A UN campaign adopted my motto, not waste. Future. Flowers to Sophia's wedding red. Make space. No reply. The price? Isolation sting. But freedom's balm. I whispered to the empty prep line. Set the next table. Family's blindness birthed my empire. But revenge's shadow lingers lonely. But unbowed.